Welcome! It's been a while since I've done one of these. It's a live gig vlog. I don't get to do these every month because cost, frankly. But yes, today I am finally seeing a band that I didn't think I would probably get around to see him, which is Alien Ant Farm. Teamed up with CKY. Now, if you're like me, you probably know one CKY song that was made famous from Jackass the movie. No, that's not where I know it from. I predominantly know it from Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. Another song that featured on Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 was also Wish by Alien Ant Farm, which was kind of a small hit of theirs. So this whole night is going to be very sort of evocative of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and just the early 2000s in general. So this is going to be a really fun one for like a very select group of people, I think. They are supported by a band called Rat's Nest tonight, who I have no idea about, and they are playing in a very unusual venue that I will explain a bit of later on. A lot of people will know Alien Ant Farm from their cover of Smooth Criminal, but for me, I'm looking forward to things like Movies, These Days, Attitude, Wish, and several others, you know, like sort of smaller hits that came later. But even then, they are nostalgic to like the very early 2000s, and this kind of put them in a very unusual space. If you are not familiar with the band at all, apart from Smooth Criminal, then you'll know that they kind of came out around the same time as like a lot of the nu metal scene was sort of kicking off in the very beginning of the 2000s, and so they kind of got lumped in with all of that, sort of pigeonholed into the nu metal thing. But like their good friends Papa Roach, they weren't really just nu metal. In fact, I'd argue that Papa Roach were never truly like the nu metal thing either. But they got lumped in with it because of the sound that was going on at that time. Typically, actually, when you go back and you look at a lot of sort of Alien Ant Farm's records, you will find that there's something a bit more classic rock there, sort of merged with that early 2000s heaviness that was going on in sort of alternative rock. Now, this concert is actually kind of a birthday thing for me, so my family is coming along this time, but I'm gonna try and keep this vlog as a separate thing. But yes, something I'm just very excited for. This is my literal present this year, is going to see a concert because it's November and it's my first concert of the year, if I'm not mistaken. See you on the train. So you can probably tell from my surroundings, but I'm not actually on a train right now. Typical British trains, doing some work or another. This time it's not a strike. It's always usually strikes. But nonetheless, we're going to be catching tonight 3 rail replacement buses plus 2 other trains. So I decided I wasn't going to record on the train. Quickly do it here in this little vestibule while my family's off over there getting some coffees. So, about where the concert is tonight, this is actually kind of an interesting one because I've never gone to a concert in Margate. When I was a kid, it used to be quite the dumb thing to like have concerts in sort of Brighton, maybe somewhere like in Kent somewhere, you know, basically one per county. These days, if an international band comes to the UK, like an American band or otherwise, basically it's London. It's London, maybe one of the festivals like Download or Leeds, Reading, or Glastonbury. If you're feeling a bit fruity, maybe Birmingham shows up. But otherwise, no, it's pretty much just London. However, something's been changing in Kent in the last sort of 5 years or so. And this town that has had different periods of history of being like quite a happening place, which is Margate. It was a big deal when William Turner was alive, and then years later, more artists arrived there, like Tracy Emin, and I think Damien Hirst and stuff based themselves there for a little while. Could be wrong about that one, but nonetheless, you've got the Turner Centre, which is like one of the biggest sort of art galleries outside of London. And then, In the 1940s, the 1950s, and the 1960s, it became a bit of a hub town for tourism, basically, following World War II, but before, so in that period between World War II, when like everything was a bit crap, and the advent of relatively cheap international travel, the place that a lot of people went on holiday were just the coastal towns of England. And Margate became like this really like hip place to be, to the point where it had this whole theme park built called Dreamland alongside a theatre of the same name. And it was like all Art Deco and stuff. So it's like a really cool place. But then after the 70s, this all became a lot less fashionable as people were able to like just nip to France and beyond. And Margate became one of those many towns in England where, you know, it was past its best. Flash forward to about 5 years ago, and somebody, I think at some point, I'm not sure if it's like Kent Council themselves or Thanet or like a private bidder or whatever, they got hold of Dreamland and started to convert it into a place for live concerts. And in the last couple of years, it's put on some pretty big names. And since I think Limp Bizkit were there fairly recently, it has become just every weekend a new like band, typically English, but occasionally you get like the big international acts going off in this relatively small venue. I believe it's 3,000 capacity, which didn't make sense to me until my wife told me that it was actually an indoor venue. I couldn't picture it quite. So yeah, this is going to be a very interesting and novel experience for me, going to somewhere other than London or Brighton for a concert. So yeah, that's the history of like Dreamland in Margate as a live performance venue. I'll see you there. So on the bus, we actually found out that CKY are cancelled. It was a bit hectic getting here. Margate is really rough at night, and yeah, just a bit of a palaver. So there's not much like footage of us getting here or anything. But yeah, just so you know, CKY cancelled. I mean, that's kind of been the talk. That everyone, like every conversation that we overhear is talking about how CKY have cancelled, and no one seems to know why. But they also cancelled, it seems, Milan and a gig in the Netherlands. So I don't know. But at least we've got Alien Anthem. Well, this has been this has been a wild night. Okay, so CKY got cancelled, and there was nothing really to say why it was cancelled. So there's been a lot of beef, it seems. There was a bit where at one point during the show, the crowd started chanting for CKY. Not because they didn't want to see Alien Ant Farm, but Dryden, the singer of Alien Ant Farm, said, "Look, I love CKY, and I love," he said like some other name, it might have been the names of the other two guys, but Chad is a piece of shit, was what he said. But I still love CKY. It's funny how that can be. And from our perspective, we knew nothing. Still, nothing had actually been said concretely that we could see when we last looked. But we just could see that there was some major bloody beef going on between Alien Ant Farm, or at least the singer of Alien Ant Farm, and the singer of CKY. Anyway, we get out, and it's probably easy to look up now. But yeah, there actually was some major beef, and it turns out that the singer of CKY had been acting up, basically acting like a bit of a twat. And at some point, they confronted him about it in a calm way, allegedly, and he punched Dryden, the singer of Alien Ant Farm, in the face. So that was a whole thing. Margate at nighttime is really, really weird, really different. I mean, I'm used to rough towns and stuff, like, so it's not that out of the ordinary for me, but just compared to what I've seen of Margate during the daytime, it was pretty chaotic. There were people who were just sort of shouting at each other in the streets. There were people who were just sort of falling over onto curbs, onto bollards, because they were off their faces. Or at least there was one guy that did that at the train station, and it was like, okay, try not to look. And then our bus turned up. Our bus for the rail replacement going home, which actually turned out to just be one bus, not two, so that's good. But it turned up, and we were not allowed on it because it was being treated as a crime scene, because two people, a man and a woman, had got into some sort of fist fight or something on it. There was blood everywhere, and they'd run off, but now the police had to come. So it's just been a very chaotic, kind of aggressive, violent aspect to stuff that's going on tonight that doesn't necessarily impact us, apart from getting a later bus. So to talk actually about the gig itself, give a quick little rundown and a little review. The band that went on before Alien Ant Farm was Rat's Nest, as I mentioned. This was actually a sort of punk rock band from Margate themselves, and honestly, they were pretty damn good. They seemed like youngish guys. They said that they've only been a band for like 7 years or so, and you know, most people start when they're like teenagers. So they're like mid-20s, I guess, now. But they put on a hell of a show. So actually, I'm gonna say Rat's Nest were pretty good. I mean, you know, it's that old thing of like, with any sort of band, and especially rock bands, is it new? Is it breaking ground? No, but it was a lot of fun, and they had a lot of fun with the crowd. So yeah, that was actually really good. Alien Ant Farm were really good, just amazing. Sort of very heavy mix in that small room. So when, you know, you had the drums and the bass coming in together, it could be a little overwhelming in the mix, but like, yeah, it ticks a lot of the same boxes for me as Incubus. And you listen to songs like Attitude, and it definitely has that sort of West Coast alternative rock vibe. But yeah, like, they'd have like little recordings in between things. Dryden was really good at like talking to the crowd. There was one bit actually before Smooth Criminal, and like, this is all stuff that's going to be on all of the shows for this particular tour, I'm sure. Maybe they've done it before, but they actually had someone interviewing Michael Jackson, and then they played that clip out before coming on for the final set closer of Smooth Criminal. But yeah, me and my kid, we were singing along to like every word of like movies and These Days. So it was a very cool like gig to go to with the family. My wife didn't really know him that well at all, but she enjoyed it. It was really fun. So feel free to like this video if you like seeing these kind of music vlogs. I wish I could do them a lot more often, but alas, it's just so costly these days. The next time I actually will be doing one of these, I think, is in April. But I have been doing a lot of other music stuff, music discussion, so feel free to subscribe for that. I've got a few other coals in the fire when it comes to sort of covers and album sort of lists. And while you're here, feel free to check out some of my retro gaming stuff. And feel free to comment if you have anything to say or you just want to say hi. And until next time, have a good one.